All right, we starting. So this is my upcoming podcast. I still have no name for it currently so far. I am leading more towards calling it dissections because oh my camera's not focusing. Dissecting topics that I'm gonna talk about in each episode, and I'm gonna get you know depending on the topic, I'm gonna get deep into it, and I just want to see how much I can dissect out of it. And my camera's not focusing. Great. So for my first episode, I want to talk about something that I already can talk about, something that I am in, which is this program in my school called IB. Y'all three are in it, and you three have been in it since freshman year, right?
Mhm.
And I just want you guys to tell me a little bit about what you guys chose, or like why did you guys chose IB? You guys can start anytime you guys want.
Who wants to go first?
I can go first, I guess. Not gonna lie, this is gonna sound really bad too, but I wasn't at like a school that zoned in my district before. So when I was hearing about IB, it was from my two other friends who are a year older than me who are already at study point as freshmen, and they kept telling me about how they're so glad they moved to this new school and how they have this thing called IB, and I was like, that sounds cool. What do you do? And they're like, it's a super cool program. And it's like from an international stance about education. It's pretty well rounded. And I really like what that's about. And I didn't even know what IB was about before because my old school was all about AP and they were kind of pushing it on us too. They even read a whole article about why IB is bad or like IB classes are like inferior from AP. So I was like, never exposed to it. So I moved then because I trusted those two people and my mom too. They're like, oh, well, if they said it's good, they're reputable people. We should probably move too. So I did. And I enrolled in IB because that was like the obvious thing to do. And that's kind of how I got into it. But I'm really glad I'm in it now. But that's honestly like my full story. But when I got here too, I got to see for myself how cool it was. But yeah, it was like out of recommendation. And then I moved and it was pretty epic. And I got to see for myself. And the faculty for like welcoming the freshmen, even though it's not when you actually start the IB itself, the prep classes for IB were very welcoming as well. So I think it was a great introduction for me to start getting ready for junior year. So it was pretty great, that transition I had. But that was my experience starting with IB.
So some questions I had. You said that originally was Stony Point wasn't a school that was near your.
Yeah.
So like
Yes. So
what schools?
basically,
Oh, sorry, you go.
oh yeah, sorry. I basically went to Gateway, which was a public charter school. So it didn't zone to any district or like independent school district, if that makes sense. So even though I lived in a house and it did zone for a Round Rock ISD school, my parents decided to enroll me into Gateway. And so it was like a separate school that's not connected in that school system. So that's why whenever I transferred and it was like a whole new system, it's like I had to get used to like the different programs here because there was like a change in like the type of classes that were provided, but also like the way the system works. So that was kind of my transition for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Who else wants to share their story about how they got into IB though? I'll share mine though.
I can go next.
All right.
So the reason why I did IB was because the middle school I went to, everyone that was there was really not the best. And I heard a lot of good things about IB and the community that they offer and like how everyone's really tight knit and everyone's really close. And I was like, that sounds kind of fun. Like especially with all the people I was around, they weren't being the best influences and like not helping my mental environment. So I wanted to transfer so I could go to a different high school. And I didn't live in Texas during this time, or in eighth grade and freshman year. I only moved here sophomore year. So I went to a different school. It's called Northtown. And the classes that I took were really fun and they were like, had a lot of different ways to view the knowledge and just like an overall like well-rounded way to look at all the stuff that we were learning. And it was a really fun environment being around like the same people in all my classes. And even though it was only freshman year, I was like really enjoying the program. And then I moved here and I started seeing like the same 10 people in all my classes and I started talking to the upperclassmen and I was like, this seems like a really good program, especially with everything I heard about and like how good it is for college and like getting into college and making you look good, like, oh, look at me, I'm smart, I can do this program. And I was like, well, I have nothing better to do, so I might as well challenge myself and try to see if I can do it. And if I can, that's great. That was pretty much it.
But you're the president, right?
Yes,
How
president of IBSO.
how did that like change you having all this like responsibilities holding that one club?
Um, well, IBSO, it all started like junior year when I joined. I don't know if you know Alina. Um, when I joined their IBSO, I was like, oh my goodness. I thought it was so cool that there was a way for everyone to get closer. And after going to the meetings and seeing everyone like go and like, especially the seniors, seeing them all close together and like, oh, we should do this and we should do this. And getting so excited, I was really, really excited and I wanted to be the president. And then I got elected for the presidency, and I was mainly the reason why I wanted to do it was so I could provide that experience for everybody else. And the responsibility, it doesn't really feel like that much because I wanted to do it so bad that it doesn't really feel like I'm really working for it. Like it's hard work, it's a lot of thinking, a lot of organizing, but the reason I'm doing it, it doesn't make it seem like it's that big of a deal. It just feels like really fun, especially with the officers this year. I'm so grateful that they're equally as interested in everything as I am. And it's really fun and like kind of relieving to be able to have people like minded to help me carry out what I always wanted to do with the club.
All right, yeah. My first experience joining the club, um, it wasn't mandatory joining IBSO, but I thought since I'm an IB, might as well join a club, that talks about it because I didn't know anything about IB. I mean, my middle school provided IB. I went to Hernandez, it provided IB, and we did talk about some IB um like stuff, and we did have like a big project towards the end of your eighth grade year. I did mine over drugs because I had family members with past experience with that tragically, they passed due to that, and it was something I was passionate about because of that. So I did my project based on that, and based on that, I told myself, look, IB looks like something I want to do if this is what I get to do or get to experience. So my freshman year, I did it, and I was informed by the IB counselor, Miss Witcher, that you don't really get into IB until you hit your junior year. You just pretty much do like pre-IB courses, which don't aren't really like different from the regular courses until you get to a junior year. But you did have to take research in tech and the first semester, which turned to second semester into philosophy. I really enjoyed taking philosophy, and I really enjoyed Mr. White's class. We talked about languages, schools, and all those stuff. I pretty sure I was like I couldn't learn it in a regular like school environment or like any program like AP. So I'm really glad I did join IB for that. That's a little bit the story of why I joined IB. And now that I'm a junior and I have to do all these requirements for IB, I know for a fact that I enjoy doing like 36 cast projects. As soon as I heard, I thought it was to me impossible, but I turn each cast project into something that I like this podcast. I told myself that I wanted to do something like this, and if I could make it into a cast project, then it was something I could enjoy really much. And also, not to mention that, especially this year, which has almost actually been a year since we've been in, I guess, what's it called? Lockdown from COVID, or this whole COVID thing happened. It really changes because it's hard to do some cast project like the service cast, and it's hard not seeing your teachers and asking questions, but also experiencing like the clubs like IBSO, because how would you guys do the club if COVID wasn't a thing?
Last year it was so much fun, like getting to go to all the stuff, like all of the little parties, and we were really hoping to be able to do that, but because of COVID, we can't. But we would have had parties, and we wanted to do families where it would be one freshman, one sophomore, one junior, one senior. We were really excited. Like me and Allie have been talking about this since junior year, like how we would want to do stuff. And we wanted to be able to do that and make everyone really close and just, I don't know, make it seem really close and tight knit because we can only do that so much over Google Meets. And it sucks. It really does suck. But I think it's working for the most part.
Right. Yeah. And Allison, would you want to share like your past like experience before IB or like joining into IB?
Yeah, so in sixth grade, I actually got accepted into Meridian, which is an IB charter school in Round Rock. Um, and I applied in like third grade, and I didn't know anything about it. My parents just wanted me to go, so I went. And I went to Hernandez for like the fall semester beforehand, and like you said, it's technically an IB school, but I don't know what about it was supposed to be an IB school because I never got that. Um, But whenever I went to Meridian, I hated it. It was way too rigorous for an 11-year-old who had never been in any sort of curriculum that was like that intense, I guess. And I just didn't really know how to handle it, and there was a lot going on in my own life. And so I ended up leaving like halfway through seventh grade. But the deal with my parents was that I had to go into IB in high school because they thought that I just wasn't ready for it in middle school. So that's basically what happened. And I've had a lot of struggles in IB over the past 4 years, but I think the only reason that I really stay is because on level classes and AB classes are just not built for me. Um, Although IB really, really sucks sometimes, I can appreciate that they like with our IAs and stuff and our EE, we are given the choice to explore what we want to. Meanwhile, in like an AP class or in an on-level class, we wouldn't get that kind of choice. So I appreciate that, and I don't know. I just think that the community is a lot better than it would be in any other kind of program. So yeah.
I like the fact also that you pointed like some of the, like the stuff that you didn't like about it because instead of we're being completely honest because we're obviously dissecting the topic and the stuff that how we got to IB and the stuff that we enjoyed so far and the stuff that isn't meant for some of us. Like for me, writing is a big struggle. When I heard that we had AI, I told myself I what I got myself into. I'm not the best writer. I don't know. I just don't like writing that much. But if it's something like you said, it's something that you can write something about that you like or you're very passionate about, that kind of changes things because when you're in on level and AP, they want you to write not of what you want, but like a specific topic. Like I was in AP World my sophomore year, and you're forced to write all this stuff that you need to in order to pass. It's not something that you would want to write and still pass, because we have that extended essay, which I'm gonna start in my second semester, which I'm gonna start soon, and is you have to write some is something that you can write about what you want, right? Or
Mhm.
what's like the requirements of the essay.
So you have, I guess, like these categories that you can pick, like psychology or world history. There are a ton that I don't remember. Um, and you can do literally pretty much whatever you want to as long as it fits within the requirements. And I don't remember the specifications or anything, but um, like one of our classmates is super into video games, and like that's all that he really likes. So a lot of his assignments and a lot of his essays and stuff revolve around video games, and he's able to um, kind of, I don't know, adjust his interest to fit into the assignment. And I think that that's pretty cool because, of course, there are other people who are doing super insanely academic topics, but he's able to just kind of mold his own interest around that.
And like specifically, what are you guys' extended essays like about? And if it's something that you guys are like were interested in writing about, or you guys thought this would be a really cool idea to write about, you know?
Okay.
Mine is
Mine.
about,
You go.
go ahead, Miss Girl.
Okay, I'll do mine. Okay, so mine, I'm really passionate about psychology. something about being raised watching Criminal Minds and the behavior analysis unit has got me really into psychology and everything to do with it. And I took psychology last year, and it was Mr. Snelson, and he's a god. He's so helpful. And I was like, okay, the subject that I love plus one of my favorite teachers. So my topic is in the psychology course or whatever. And then my question is, to what extent I can't remember it right off the top of my head, but it's basically like nature and nurture in depression, and what is more of a cause to developing major depressive disorder. And I'm really passionate about that type of stuff because I've been affected by depression, not only my own, but like everyone, a lot of my family members have gone through it as well. And so I kind of wanted to dedicate some research and time into understanding it more, because I know I've seen it, and I wanted to see, what are the causes? What's the science behind it? And so the nature of my topic refers to like biological stuff. It's like genetics and biomarkers, stuff like that. It's really complicated. And then the nurture is like air pollution can affect it, urban environments, childhood trauma, like all that type of stuff. And it's just going into that and kind of understanding it more from an objective point of view.
And that's something that you wanted to write because, like you said, your family members, some have gone through it, and it's something that, especially psychology, you're interested about.
Mhm.
And is it like a career you want to pursue?
Yeah, actually, every college application that I applied to that I did had psychology as my major. I'm hoping to be a physician's assistant in psychology or like psychiatry, something in there. I'm not exactly sure yet. But yeah, my whole career is going to be psychology. All my papers have had something to do with psychology. And like Ali said about the guy that likes video games, I've been able to adjust all my topics based off of my interests. And that's why I'm like okay with writing the EE, because we get to pick anything at all and write as much or write 4,000 words on it. And that seems like a lot, but once you get into it and once you realize you have a whole topic to like completely analyze and dissect, it seems like almost limiting in kind of a way. And so I'm excited to dive into it because of how interested I am in psychology.
Does anybody else want to share like what they wrote about their like EE?
Yeah, I can go. So I have like always been super into politics and just kind of social justice issues. So I usually take a lot of my projects and turn them into something in that realm because there's so much to talk about. So my extended essay it's a psychology paper, and it's about schema, which is basically stereotypes. Um, and it's how schema like maintains a disproportionate amount of Black people in the school to prison pipeline. And I am kind of going into like zero tolerance policies and how people have this stereotype that like, oh, Black people are going to commit more crimes, so we need to be more aware of them and like more suspicious. So yeah, I don't know.
And so since you like, your E, you made it off politics, like kind of stereotypes, kind of. You said psychology. What was it again?
Yeah, it's a psychology paper, and the I guess kind of concept that I'm using is called schema. It's literally just stereotypes, but a fancy term for it.
And is this directed to something you want to like pursue, let's say as a career, or like what career would you be interested in?
Um, I used to want to go into a political career, but I've kind of steered away from that. Now I want to go into more so like communication slash marketing kind of field, which is completely different. But yeah.
All right. What you, Emmy?
Okay, so for my extended essay, it's a history paper, but originally, funny story. So I was gonna, okay, my whole high school career, I have been unsure about what I want to study or pursue for college. And being at Gateway, they like pushed Avid a lot, and they're like, you have to figure out what college you want to go to, what you want to do. It doesn't matter what you want to do, you just have to know so you can plan around it. And I always had so much pressure figuring out my own identity almost to an extent because I legit didn't know. I was just vibing with life. And so I was hoping that, okay, freshman year, sophomore year, I didn't figure out what I wanted to do. So I was hoping when I joined IB in junior year, senior year, I can take one of the opportunities of doing like a required paper. So in this case, the extended essay, and use that as an opportunity to explore a topic I otherwise wouldn't have. Because if not, if I wasn't forced to, being honest with my own personality, I just wouldn't because I'm lazy. So if I'm being forced, I might as well take advantage of the opportunity and like, um, yeah, really explore it for myself. So I used the extended essay to explore a possible career path I wanted to go to, which was education. So I was thinking, oh, I can write an education paper, and how I personally get mad about the injustice that happens in the educational system. Because for me, I believe that education is super powerful and that everyone should have the right to a quality education, not just a education, because equality can deviate from school to school and region to region because of funding. And just seeing that inequality and how Stony Point sometimes gets called ha 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 Stoner's Joint. It's such a bad school and all. I after going here, I can attest that no, it's not that bad. Yeah, the faculty could be a lot better about certain situations, but the kids themselves here are not the issue here at hand. It's really the potential that's being seen upon by the people, like whether it's taxpayer money or anything. It's really just whether people want to give us a chance, and the image and stereotype that we're given is often very unfair. And so just feeling so mad about that and the reputation we have. It's literally some cards that we're just given as a school that we can't really change unless like some miracle or some cool event in sports happens, because that's how funding probably happens. Majority is like sports. But being mad about that and how we're kind of given what is it? This look, I was like, okay, I definitely want to write an EE about education, but as you can tell from like IB and like their list of like possible genres you could go into, education obviously is not one. So I was like, oh shoot, how am I going to do that? But I was able to find a way. History is very flexible, I want to say, if you want to write an extended essay, because you can make it about whatever you want as long as you talk about how it's evolved over time. And that's basically a history paper right in front of your hands. So my spin I added to it was studying an educational act. I think all of us know what No Child Left Behind is, that act that Bush gave us. So I wanted to study and compare that act in comparison to its original predecessor act, I guess, which is called the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. And basically, this act, what it was for is giving underprivileged students who are in low income areas funding, because they know that local property tax funding is not enough for schools. And if you're in a poor area, you get a lot less money than if you live in a rich area. Just the percentage of tax you get, obviously, no matter what is it, depending on the area you live on, you get more money and so on. So, it's unfair. Like, yeah, the tax rate is the same, but obviously people who live in rich areas get more money dedicated to schools. And so it's going to create a quality difference in education. And so that act, what it was supposed to do is give extra funding to schools with low income students. They can help close that monetary gap and try and make sure that these students are given the care that they need. And what I wanted to study in this essay was that original act in 1965. It has greatly evolved from just it was like a funding issue to now a standardized testing issue, because the way we, I think, in our generation know this version of it, which is called No Child Left Behind, is the standardized testing, the STAR test, and like all the tears that come with studying for such a stupid state test, right? We all are just kind of like, we know that we have to do it, but I wanted to study more the history. And it seems now that the testing determines how much money you get. And so I just wanted to explore that whole relationship. Sorry, I went on like a whole history rant there, but that was basically my whole thought process. So my EE for me was not only an exploration for like a possible career path that I was unsure if I wanted to go into, but it also let me explore my own personal passions about like injustices in a system that we live in. So that's my EE for you. Yeah.
I mean, you explained some stuff that I didn't know. So you said based on the scores in the STAR test, that's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like that's how much money like a certain area
Yeah.
with the school gets.
Yeah, so usually the way, I guess this is just like about government and like law, but essentially what happens is whenever schools get funding, the majority of the money that they have to play around with comes from property taxes. So depending on what zoning area a school like gives education to, that kind of determines how much money you get. So Stony Point, let's say, in comparison, like with the neighborhoods that zone into our school, let's say compared to Westlake, a school like in Austin, where all the property taxes there are probably so much higher. The houses in Westlake, they're fancy, they're nice, they're very expensive. So their houses and areas set a lot higher than, the houses in our area. So obviously, you know how tax works, right? It's like a percentage and it's like set for everyone. Their percentage of money dedicated to education naturally is going to be a lot more money than our money that we get from our percentage because of the fact that they're worth differently, like the properties. So we're already naturally set from like a tax perspective, like at a disadvantage with like Stony Point funding because our area has houses that aren't valued as much. So therefore we don't get as much money. So hopefully that makes sense. But that's why I got very mad because who can control how much our houses are worth? That's something that we're just kind of given. So it's unfair for then our education to also be affected by that because all of us kids have so much potential to do so much good in the world, but if we don't have a solid education to back that, we're going to be wasted potential, and I hate wasted potential in my opinion. So yeah.
So, you know, you really got into like, very deep into it, and that's like, the whole point of this, podcast, that I made, going deep into stuff. And like, you still don't know, you want to be in a field of education, but you still don't know like what certain field, or you are like gearing towards, let's say, a certain education that you want to teach, or
Yeah. So I think I figured out, not necessarily through the EE, it helped me like realize, okay, I have a good heart. But during the college application process, I figured out education is, at least for like Texas, it's more a certification rather than like something you study, like a major's worth. You just get certified. So once I realized that, I was like, I should probably study something that I want. And for me, I figured out I want to go down the business route for marketing, more so because I still don't know what I want to do specifically in my life. But if I study marketing, it's more of like you learn skills of like how to apply and like you learn how to market. And it's pretty relevant in our age of technology. So I was like, even if I don't know what I want to do, at least if I can learn those skills in college, I can apply to wherever I want still. And I can always get a certification for education while I'm at it. So yeah, and I'm hoping I can double major in like another study too. So that way I can teach that second major, if that makes sense. But that's kind of how I'm going about it.
see, well, I still don't know what I want to write my extended essay about. I mean, something I can talk about, because I'm most likely gearing towards music, because I've been doing band since I was in sixth grade, and I really like music, and that's something I'm passionate about. I still don't know what I want to do as a career path, but like you said, that extended essay kind of help you out, kind of explore the topic. If I can probably explore it more, I probably would want to get maybe a career in music. Maybe not, but it's something that I don't know yet until I try. Just like you trying out like new stuff that you don't know that you could be good at, but if you try it and you end up liking something, then you probably have to thank that for, I guess, letting you explore, opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a lot of the EE2, some people, they will say in IB, like obviously it's not going to give you like a whole college experience. Like they know we're high schoolers, but a lot of people will credit the EE for practice for graduate papers and essays that are expected of that level of education. So even if you figure out you don't like the topic and you don't want to pursue it at the end, it's always good because now you know what it would have been like if you had studied that in college. So it's always a good opportunity to see the EE as a way to test whether you like it or not. So that's how I went about it too, is the college perspective.
Yeah. And you guys all three had like different purposes of writing the EE, but like the one thing that I saw that you guys had in common was it's something that you guys wanted to do something about it, and it's not like a regular like course, like on level or AP that make you write something of what you need to and not what you like really want to. And that was something that I liked about IB, that it lets you kind of explore certain topics and more in depth into actual, I want to say like actual live, like real life stuff that you might be interested in. That's like the regular school wouldn't teach you, because school obviously doesn't teach you how to drive. It's not like a mandatory thing that everybody needs to take like a driving like test or class, or a like just practically a life course. They don't teach you how to pay bills or stuff that you actually need in life. But although school doesn't teach you that, I think IB gives you more of a little bit of freedom of what you can do, and you can. I say that's probably like the closest I think you'd get to actual school teaching you about life, because you get to talk about stuff that is like happening in life and is still going on. And that's why I also chose IB. It's like the more freedom I get, still following guidelines, school guidelines, I still get like the freedom I kind of want. And aside from that, well, like a thing I had in my head was questions that I had, because obviously I was introduced to IB when I was in middle school, although I didn't really know what it was. Although my school was considered an IB school, we'd explore topics like what was integrity and stuff like that. But I didn't really know what IB was, and all of us had different experiences with IB. Allison, you were introduced to it in elementary school. Emmy, you were introduced to it in like beginning of high school, and Emma, you got it introduced your sophomore year, right? Was that right?
Sorry, my dog's been running at my door. Eighth grade actually,
Um,
and
so,
then I got into the sophomore year.
but you were in a different like state though, right?
Yeah, they have IB in one school in my old school district, and that's where I went.
So the fact that we all got like different experience from it, didn't you guys like had some questions that you guys wish or already got answered the more you explored IB? Because I know as soon as I reached the end of my eighth grade year, I said I still got a lot of questions of IB, and I literally had no idea like who to talk to, because although I have a older sister, she didn't do IB, so I couldn't go to her like some of my like friends. They have older siblings that graduated in the IB course, and they could just always ask them for references, and they have that help. But I didn't, so I guess I just went in somewhere blindly. And I was wondering if you guys had like certain questions that you guys did get answered the more you went into IB, or you still have about it.
I think one thing I will say for myself is one thing I wish I realized was the fact that depending on your school, obviously Stony Point will have different opportunities than like other schools, but for us, it was the main ones are dual credit, AP and IB. So what I wish I had realized was within the opportunities I was given, what the main difference in learning style was, because the more I've talked with my friends about this and kind of differentiated and realized the real difference between these, it was essentially learning style. And obviously, the benefits you get out of all these are different as well. But essentially, if you're not going to thrive in it with your own learning style, then why force it, you know? So I wish I'd realized that IB is more about hands on, it's writing based, and that it's a lot more you have a lot more free room to explore about it, and you don't have to memorize anything. It's more your exploration and your attitude towards learning, whereas dual credit is more good for if you know that you have the circumstances that college might be a struggle for you and that getting a head start for credits is good. There's often a stigma against dual credit because it's on a different GPA scale, and people are like, oh well, I want an epic GPA, so I'm not going to let dual credit way down, so I'm going to take AP instead. Like there's such a stigma around it, but people who are doing dual credit is actually smart, because if you think about it, dual credit is guaranteed college credit, whereas AP is you're not guaranteed it, you're testing out of it. And so for people who are doing dual credit, it's very great if you have a circumstance where college might not be a possibility without some assured credit that you would already have. And then AP is more better for people who are strong at memorizing and are really good at taking in information and applying it. Because I feel like IB, yes, you still do memorize information to an extent, but it is a lot more about the exploration of it. And so just playing to your strengths and your circumstance too, because not everyone will have the opportunity of assuming you can go to college. I feel like I wish I had realized that before deciding IB. I think I ultimately would have been with IB, but I wish I'd realized that sooner, so I'm like more aware of my opportunity.
I'll say that I had no idea about IAs until Mr. Alexander, my math teacher last year, was like, all right, guys, so the IA is going to be 1,800 words. And I was like, the what is going to be how long? And it was like really overwhelming to go in like the first week or two of IB and be told everything that we're going to be doing for the next 2 weeks, especially in bio, because she was like, all right, we're going to touch on 14 different units and we're going to do an IA. And then we have the test that's going to be free response, multiple choice, and yada, yada, yada. And we have paper 1, 2, 3. And I was like, oh my God, are you for real? And so I just wish that the testing and the workload would have been explained. Like I still would have done it, but I wish it wouldn't have been a surprise to like go in and be like, all right, IA for every class. It was really overwhelming to get told all of that in the same 2 weeks. So oh my God, I wish that would have been explained a little bit earlier. Even before junior year would have been fantastic.
Yeah, I also want to add on and say I wish they made the attitude when they're explaining like the expectations of like all the work and like studying you're going to do, that it's manageable and it's doable. Because I think a lot of the reason people don't even try to do IB is because they like introduce everything with the intention of making it scary. And it's like, I know they want like a slap of reality to say, hey, you can't just like get away with not trying and still be able to get away with it. I wish people were able to say like, yes, it is a lot. However, you can easily manage it too, to make it seem like it's not a lot. So I agree with Emma. Like it was so scary, and I wish I had realized the workload, but they'd also not like baby us, but tell us it is possible and not just like a miracle.
Oh, you can go, Allison. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, so my response is basically kind of what you guys both said. I don't think that I have any specific questions, but I wish that I had had somebody who had either gone through the IB program or was in the middle of it to tell me, first of all, was it worth it? Because right now, I don't feel like it is. I really do not feel like it's worth it. Second of all, I wish I had somebody tell me what it's actually like, because seeing it on paper and having a counselor advertise it to you is very, very different from what it's actually like. It's hard to understand that since it is, I guess, an accelerated course of study, you have more work daily and you have more rigorous classes already, and then you have all of your long-term assignments and due dates for those, and it's a lot to take in. I forgot what I was saying. I mean, what did you say? What was your point?
Oh, I was like agreeing, but yeah, like IB has a lot shoved in their face, but if they would have been a lot more supportive about it, yeah.
Yeah, I just think that it was really hard for me to understand exactly what IB was, because Miss Witchard was telling me, oh, you have IAs, you have HL classes, SL classes, you have the EE, and it was so many acronyms, and I don't know what's going on, and it's just a lot for a 15-year-old to wrap their head around. And that's why I was kind of saying, like, I wish that I had the guidance of somebody who was older than me, because the way that they explained IAs to us did not make any sense. But if you just told me that it's like a paper for every class, okay, that makes more sense. But yeah, that's it.
And it's not like, I'm making this, special like episode just to like hate on IB or like, lie to somebody. I just want to, just bring out like truth. Like right now you're being truthful about like the stuff you like and don't like, and it's all right because, I don't like, the stuff that you don't get a counselor telling you this is this, and you get just this. Instead, they're just telling you like a summarized, like well, just summarized stuff. They don't go into more details. They just say we just do this in this program, and you get this if you do it. But they don't say all like the work that goes in. Like my eighth grade year, when I was talking to Miss Witcher, she never mentioned like IAs or anything. I was never mentioned IA until this year, and all of you are like the first. Like you guys don't have any older siblings that did IB, or you guys just like the first to do IB in your family.
Yeah, I'm the oldest in my family, so by default, but yeah, I don't know anyone who's done IB aside direct family. And my sister might be doing IB too. She's a freshman, so yeah.
So you as a like being the oldest and having a younger sister that wants to do IB, you're there for her to like back her up and tell her, and that's a thing, something that she could be, I guess, not grateful of, but like saying, "Oh, my sister was an IB, so I guess I have this sort of help," instead of you blindly just going in, they're just throwing you, and you have to figure out stuff yourself. And I I wish they touched on it more freshman and sophomore year, like giving you at least like a little bit of the taste of how would it be like, instead of just once you get to junior year, they just tell you, and without any like practices at all, they just tell you that you're gonna have to do this, and you cram like between your junior and senior year, you're getting crammed all this stuff instead of like actual, being freshman, sophomore year, them teaching you actually what it is and how to do it and how like to tackle it.
Mhm. I agree.
And I mostly think also because you say your sister was a freshman, right?
Hmm.
Uh, I know I obviously we're all freshmen. We were all at one point in. They didn't even teach us anything really about IB. It was just regular classes until you got to your junior year. And
Yeah.
do you tell your sister like what is she going to like expect, or are you just letting her trying to like figure out kind of herself?
Yeah, I definitely, because I know I already know everything because I'm like older than her. I do still want to leave some things for herself to explore, and I know that some of the teachers have changed since we even like you as a junior, I as a senior, the teachers have had as pre-IB. So I know that's changed. So I can't like guarantee to her that it's gonna stay the same. But in terms of like the technicalities, like counselor stuff, course stuff, what classes I recommend or heard good reviews about, which ones I wouldn't recommend because I've been through them. I can definitely give her that because of hindsight, but um, honestly, just the type of person she is to education right now isn't really like a concern. So unless she asks me, I don't tell her anything. But I'm always like there for her and I'm willing to tell her too. It's really just like who reaches out to me. And that's like with anyone really too who needs help. I love talking about like my experience with it. It's just like being able to find people who want to hear and need help, if that makes sense. But yeah.
And that's what uh I think, like I guess IB course or like the IB, um oh, who's the IB, not counselor but Miss
Oh, Miss Roche.
Brochet. Yeah, I think Miss Brochet, I think she should make, obviously when this whole COVID thing is over. When I was in eighth grade, there was a new high school called ECHS. There, the early college high school. They sent like a group of their students to talk about it, and I think Miss Brochet should, uh, I guess, just really think about like making a little group of IB students, like probably seniors and probably a couple of juniors, to go to like different schools and talk about what it is, instead of just when the day comes that you are gonna go to a high school and you are gonna choose like either if you want to do IB or not, to at least know actually what you're like, getting yourself into, instead of just getting yourself in it and then not actually wanting to do it, but you have to. Cause I'm gonna be honest, my freshman year I wanted to get out. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, because once I found out later that like what I had to do, cause they never told me at all, I was like, I don't think this is something I want to really do. But in the
Mhm.
end, I did try out freshman year. Still want to get out sophomore year, and now that I'm in junior year and actually doing it, I told myself they should have really told me this because not tell me wanted me to get out. I mean, I still don't want to do certain stuff, but I still, now that I'm halfway there, I told myself, okay, leaving it wouldn't really do much help, but also now that I know what I'm expecting and they're teaching me, but although they're getting cramming, I guess what I said, cramming it into you, your junior year, so your senior you can just do it. It's a little too much, but at least I know what I'm expected now, and
Yeah.
I guess I'm just just continue gonna do it until I graduate for it.
Yeah, Brochet actually does get like uh some juniors and seniors to go talk to middle schoolers. I did that with Emmy, Marcus, Alina, and Elise last year. Alina and Elise graduated in 2020, but yeah, I don't even. We only had like two people show up, maybe.
Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah.
one kid. Anyway, um,
Yeah.
I don't know
And
how
then like
they. Oh, you can go
and then
ahead.
like halfway through another family showed up, but so in total it
Yeah.
was two, but it wasn't even for the full thing. Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
that's all I was
I
curious.
I have no clue how they advertised it, but it was clear that either nobody was interested or nobody knew about it. And I think it was supposed to be a night to make IB look really good, but I was trying to be gentle with doing that because IB honestly is not for everybody. Kind of like Emmy said earlier, you have tons of different programs that you can go into, and I feel like nobody fully explains each of them or explains kind of like, okay, well, AP is better if you are good with memorizing facts and you're good with taking tests. IB is better if you are good at writing, if you're good at just kind of making things up and exploring different concepts on your own. But I don't know. I still feel like schools do not prepare us very well um, at all overall, but especially in terms of like letting us know what these programs are going to be like.
And the fact that I think she did make that, but it was just like one night. Then it wasn't like during school day where kids are forced to go to the assembly because the ECHS assembly that we had was forced on us. Like we didn't have a choice. We had to like go and like hear them, and I guess it was helpful for some people because if you heard about this new stuff that it's a new college and you're not really interested in it, but you never go to it, actually if you would have like heard about it, some people, most people that we were forced to it, think that we were forced to go to the meet instead of having the choice to go, because obviously as a middle schooler you're not worried about high school. You just once you get there is you're there, and I think you have to force, I think, just a little bit in order for them to really see and understand, just so they can make a choice. And that's what I
My
think. Oh, sorry, you can go, Emma.
Okay, my middle school actually did the assembly thing where they like rounded all of us up and they had like five, I think, I don't know, I have really bad memory. They had like five, I guess, like seniors or people that were in the program come, and they forced all the eighth graders to go in, and they talked about IB, and only like, I want to say like 10 people, including myself, signed up because it was at a different school, like I had said. But I definitely think it was a good idea because it, for the people that were interested or for the people that didn't even know about it, like it wasn't very much talked about in my middle school. It was good, like information to have, and I had already been considering it just out of like curiosity, like going to a different school, like I had said. But they made a really good point at like what Emmy said was like, I think it was Emmy, I don't remember who it was, but they were saying to like make it sound manageable. One of the girls, I thought it was crazy, but she went up there and she was like, I have a part-time job, I have XYZ, I do homework, I get 8 hours of sleep, and I still do the program. And I was like, that's a lie. But I appreciate the effort that you're putting in. And I was like, I know it won't be that, but they made it sound manageable. And that was appreciated. And they had like a realistic talk with everyone in the room. And it was definitely probably better than having like little nights, but we're like, forcing everyone to go. But it definitely worked to educate everyone about the program. So I see your guys' like frustration with that.
And I guess some schools force it on like some of their students, and I think what Miss Boucher should like email, let's say Hopewell, Hernandez, and other middle schools like Wash and like, is it Cedar Ridge is a high school, is it, or is it?
Yeah.
I forgot what the middle school was called.
Hobo?
No, aside from Hopewell, Wash, and Hernandez, there was one. I think they're Panthers.
City folks?
Cedar Folks is like lizards, but also Cedar Folks. I forgot, but there's also Canyon Vista and like schools like that. You should like, I say email each one of their principals and tell them to like, instead of making just one night for students just to have the opportunity, because also some students probably are interested in it, but not everyone's life is the same, and they could have stuff going on and could not get the information. And I think she should just make like the meetings like mandatory for eighth graders, just at least. Although some of them would hate, seeing somebody talk about their experience. Not everybody's experience is the same. Like, I don't. I still doubt. Also, I think it's a lie that that girl said that she gets 8 hours of sleep. At least she was working part time and she was doing all that stuff. But she could have been also telling the truth. I don't know how she could have managed her schedule, because my freshman year I was in band, and my band schedule messed me up all the way with my actual like school schedule, because we had rehearsals early in the morning. My body wasn't adapt to it. I was like, I would fall asleep in every single of my classes, especially math. Although I don't like math, I would fall asleep in my math class. And my teacher would just wake me. He was like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yes, yes." He said, "What did you talk about?" I was like, "Something math related." That's what I know. That's what I said.
Oh my god.
And the more I actually, my sophomore year that I did it, my body was adapt, not getting, was adapt to the certain schedule, and I was able to manage being like being in band and um regular school. But now that I also have a part-time job, I only work, although I only work 2 times a week, because I don't need that much money. I don't pay like any bills or anything, which I'm actually glad, because at a certain age, some parents make, once their kids get a job, they make them pay their own stuff, which I'm actually glad that my parents didn't like force me to pay my own stuff, because if they did, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now with this podcast, because I would forcefully have to like work more and pay more of my bills, instead of just work 2 times a day, earn, let's say I get paid every 2 weeks, so I get paid $300. Although those $300 are there, I don't really. I've tried not to use a lot of it, because I'm putting myself on hold, because I also want to like save up for college, because I do want to go to a college. But although I still don't know what I want to study yet, is better to be prepared, I guess, economic, than just not knowing what to do and just spending your money just once you decide to go to college. You don't you don't have the funds yourself to actually go to it, and you have to work even harder for it.
Hmm.
And something I was thinking about that I think most of you probably done. I think, Emmy, you had to quit being a tiger dancer, right?
Oh, well, funny story. So Tiger Dancers, I it was like a drama related issue, and I simply didn't even try out for like a higher officer position. I was second lieutenant, which was already like a great achievement in itself, because going from like a rookie, like which is the first year member, to like an officer serving, it's a huge jump. So it wasn't like that much of a jump after to continue with like a leadership position, but with like the drama, I decided to quit. um, but if it wasn't that bad, I probably would have continued. But also with COVID, that was like another unexpected factor. But that just like made me even like reassured me to want to quit more, if that makes sense. Because I was like, what are we gonna do? Online dance for a football game? So I like went ahead and quit, but it wasn't related to IB, surprisingly. Yeah.
Well, I thought it like was, because
Mhm.
I'm doing, I'm in FFA, which
Uh-huh.
by itself is like itself an academy. I did it freshman, sophomore. I'm doing it this year. Although I don't, I didn't want to be a vet. I wanted to, but now that I realize like the whole process you have to go to, I estimated a certain amount of years. My parents are like, you don't know, it could be less than that. I'm like, yeah, but I want to start my own business with it. I don't want to work for somebody. I want to be like my own boss. That would take, like you said, a lot more time. And I told myself I don't think it's something I want to indulge in because I really want to do stuff like this. And if constantly studying school, because if you want to get your medical degree, you have to forcefully put school and study every day to like be the best. And
Mhm.
I'm not becoming a vet. That's why I'm still right now lost in what I'm trying to do. But if I did pursue the sacrifice I have to make, and I still do, is quitting next year because my schedule, due to some IB classes that I have to take, doesn't allow it. And that's what I wanted
Yeah.
to talk about. Some like sacrifices each like one of us had to make in order to like still stay in IB. Which although these sacrifices suck, it could be
Mhm.
either good or bad. In my cases, although I didn't want to be a vet, it was like nice learning because
Mhm.
I guess to me, knowing certain stuff that I enjoy is not bad because at least I enjoy learning it, and later on could be more, I guess, valuable. So, is there any like sacrifices you guys had to make in order to like stay in IB, or that it sucked that you guys have to?
To talk about one thing. So I was planning on staying on Tiger Dancers, and so this sacrifice I made was for my math credit. As weird as it sounds, most people take pre-cal, but because I was hashtag dedicated for Tiger Dancers, I took AP Statistics because of scheduling conflict wouldn't allow me to take any other math unless it was on level, and Miss Wichard wouldn't let me because of my GPA and rank. So she was like, you're doing AP stats. So I was like, okay, that's great and all, but I was worried that that would hinder my progress for college credits and just preparation, not even for credit, but just making sure I'm ready because a lot of college level math is pre-calculus heavy and like elements of it, and the fact that I just skipped over it, I still don't know how I'm going to be okay. Hopefully I can take ACC before I start college, just not for the credit even, just to stay mentally okay. But I had to sacrifice that, and then it ended up I even quit Tiger Dancers, so I feel very sad about that. And then another sacrifice I had to make for IB was, I guess it wasn't necessarily IB, but I quit swim. Fun fact, I was a swimmer in my freshman year because I tried out for Tiger Dancers, and I was thinking, oh, Tiger Dancers will be great for IB because of all the cast experiences I can get out of it and like the leadership, and oh, it's so great. And no one told me that after you try out and you make it, you're basically on the team, whether you say yes or no. Like you don't accept, you're just like on it. So I just kind of like slid out of swim without like planning around it. I didn't know if I'd make it or not on the team. So on the long term, I kind of sacrificed swim for like the rest of my high school career. And I'm kind of sad because I love my teammates there, even if we weren't the fastest in like the region, but it was nice. But that was like another sacrifice I had to make. And ultimately, I wouldn't sacrifice anything because I love where I'm at now, even though I've had my down points. But it is something I wonder, like, oh, I wonder how it would have been if I continued.
Yeah, the only sacrifice I had to really make was banning, I guess. I'm not banning FFA, and I guess actually I did sacrifice that I had to make is like making, I guess, new friends because like all my old friends I still talk to them, but I don't see like any of them in any of my
Mm-hmm.
classes. But I guess the thing that B has is once you see us say a certain people your freshman year, you start seeing more your
Yeah.
sophomore year, and then once you hit junior and senior, they're practically your friends. And I tell myself it's kind of like elementary school where you had that one class that you stayed in, and you pretty much see them all the way into fifth grade once you reach to middle school. And I told myself, I guess that's one good thing, and especially for certain like some people that have like hard time making friends each year of high school, you like put into a brand new class and you don't recognize anybody. That's what I really liked about it. Be like the
Mm-hmm.
friends that I have now in IB are like currently my like closest friends because I talk to them on mostly on a daily, and I do talk to my other friends. I didn't say like I drop them, but they're like pretty much the people I talk to because I see them every day, and pretty
Mm-hmm.
much we talk on Discord, which I guess that was something else that I really like, that we were more connected instead of just not talking completely at all.
Mm-hmm.
And also wanted to touch on, I guess, like what I be how welcoming it is, cause um I guess IBSO is welcoming, and you guys have try to make it as open for different people to join, so they don't feel, I guess, left out or pressured, or you know because I think um one thing that you I noticed that you guys did was pronouns. And for some people that struggle to like identify themselves, I guess it's like, not, I guess, I say it's a good thing that you guys enforce pronouns, just so you guys are aware. And I think anybody's aware, so I don't know where somebody doesn't like mispronounce them and they get mad or sad about it.
Um, if I may. So I'm going to talk about the sacrifice for IB thing first, and I'll get to that. But I was a theater kid throughout middle school. Don't laugh. Um, anyway, I really like theater, and I never saw it as something that I would pursue as an actual career, but it was fun, and I wanted to like be in the actual plays and stuff. But IB just took up way too much of my time. And granted, I didn't really know how to manage my time properly, but I feel like that still affected me negatively. And it's like we were never taught how to manage our time, so I don't know. Anyway, it was really frustrating that I couldn't be in theater and that I couldn't dedicate the time to go to, rehearsal for like 3 hours after school and then do plays like every week or whatever. Like that's just not something that I am willing to put myself through. So I had to give that up. And I know that the theater teacher was mad. um, and she told me that her husband like hates IB because of that and because it kind of takes away a lot of opportunities from students. Uh, and I also tried to do debate my sophomore year, and I quit for other reasons. But it is a pretty heavy time commitment. We had to get up and be at I guess like practice, I guess, every morning at 7, like literally every morning. Um, and debate tournaments would be about every weekend, maybe every other weekend. And it would basically be all day Friday, late into the night, early morning. Like I was getting home at 1 or 2 a.m. And then oftentimes we would have to go back on Saturday pretty early. And that's just not built for me. I have a lot of work to do, so I'm not doing that. But yeah, I think that nobody really tells you how much IB can take away from you, especially if you don't properly manage yourself. And even then, like if you are properly managing yourself and you have a part-time job and you're in clubs and you're part of whatever, it can have a really bad mental impact on you. And nobody really talks about that, and that kind of bugs me. But anyway, um, for making IB welcoming, like I don't know, for my freshman and sophomore year, I didn't really know anybody. I knew a couple of the 2020 graduate people, but I didn't really like their class because they had a lot of drama, and I'm not a very dramatic person. So I don't know. I wanted to make sure that, especially with IBSO, that I was able to connect with more of the juniors and stuff and make sure that they knew that we were trying to make it a welcoming environment. Um, and with the pronouns, like that's something that's really important to me. Because not to get too deep, but that is something that I've been struggling with for a long time. And I want to make sure that everybody is comfortable with that. And if there are issues with that, like that's not something that I want to deal with. That's not somebody that I want to be in this community. And I think overall, IB kids are a very accepting um, group of people. So,
Probably also depend in the class you're in, because every single class is different too,
right.
and also different age groups. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
really talk about my class. It's all right. I'm not calling it the best. They're probably gonna hate me for this, but I don't consider it the best or the worst. It's all right. It's in the middle. we have our heated debates, and we still talk to each other. But it just, I wouldn't really call it the best. I'm not like saying that you guys' class suck. I think that your guys' class, like considering IB, is like more welcoming, let's say, because you guys, especially like when I was asking you guys to do this episode, you guys were really like open to do it. I was just an overall afraid to ask you guys because I know how you guys have your IAs, your extended essay, and all that stuff, and I like I said before, I hate asking like people for certain stuff, even though it doesn't have to be I get something or I really need something. I just just hate really asking because I don't know what you guys' life is like, so that's why I don't really ask that much. But just asking you guys, I really just felt bad. Like, damn, I'm really taking time away that they could just be doing certain stuff. Like, I know Emmy, you have work, and um, all you guys work, right? Or yeah,
It's
but
just Emmy.
yeah, but you
I
still.
mean, to be fair though, I only work the weekends and Thursday, Friday. I put work preferred off, but my managers have been like, so that basically means she's open. But it's not that bad. It's not like I have to work every day, and like your situation too, my parents are willing to pay. So this is really just me saving money for college and sometimes feeding my sister. But you know what I'm saying? It's not like a huge thing, if that makes sense. Yeah.
No, yeah, but still, it's certain stuff. Sometimes you guys gonna have certain things that come out of nowhere. Like that time we were supposed to schedule this like last Saturday after I got out from work, but you had work that day because they scheduled in, and that's what I mean. And I didn't want to like that be an interference. Also with I almost burped. Sorry about that. With Emma, you had a dinner at like you have dinner at 6 with your family, and I didn't want to make that like inconvenience because it's your family, you should spend time with them, but I just didn't want to ask because of certain stuff like this because you guys have your own lives, you live your own stuff that I don't know about, and probably like other people that you guys talk to daily probably don't know about. So, and
But I think these kinds of things are like important, and like I don't know about any other IB classes, but or if it's just the fact that our class is really like welcoming and like willing to do anything. But I think as long as like time management is like a thing, honestly, making it happen is never an issue. And like of course, there's going to be like technical slip ups or like oh some people are busy, but that doesn't change or shouldn't be correlated like with how they feel about it, because I personally love these kinds of things. And it's like, yeah, I can be busy at times, but I love these things and see the value in them. And so, if anything, I would love to make time dedicated just for things like these. And so, and I'm sure it's the same with anyone else in our class too, that no matter how busy we are, and obviously as IB students by default, we basically are, it doesn't change how we feel at heart about this as like humans. And I think we all agree that this is an amazing thing that you're doing.
yeah, I try. Well, my schedule I'll try to do if my schedule will allow. I try to upload, let's say monthly, because I know weekly it's too much of a hassle. Every other 2 weeks is still too much of a hassle. But I think let's say monthly would be all right. Because if I could find at least one day that I could talk about something or get really deep into it. Because the only reason why I did this as a first episode was because it was something I've been like I am still in, but I have information without searching about because later on I do want to talk about some other issues that probably concern some other people. And you guys mentioned certain stuff that you guys went through or have gone through that I probably will maybe contact you guys for like that certain episode if you guys are willing to. I'm not like putting you guys like at hostage, telling you guys to like say yes or this or that because I know everybody doesn't go through the same stuff. Some people's life is horrible, some people's life is easy, but I don't really like want to input myself in their life as in this is a main priority. I have to do this because of this so and so. And to wrap it up, I just want you guys to say, like, because it's 6 and, it's been an hour and I want you guys to, have enough time to you guys to do homework and stuff that you need to do. And just to wrap it up, I just want you guys to, like, be completely honest, each one of you, just on, like, how IB has been to you and how has that affected your life.
Okay, I can go first. So there's a good and a bad side to IB, and I think both of them have been discussed like pretty decently in this podcast. But I'm just gonna go over like my general thoughts. So I think that IB can be really good and really bad. But the good part about IB is that you're surrounded by a community that's mostly like-minded and going through the same exact thing as you are. And with our class, I feel like I'm not like saying anything about any other class. But just what I've experienced in IB is that we've all been really open with each other and open to help. And in a program where we're pretty much left to think for ourselves and figure stuff out alone, it's been really nice to be surrounded by people that are so willing to like push you closer to the answer or like, give you advice and not just be like, this is the answer. And they can like genuinely help you like learn and know how to think in these circumstances, and like sending a paper to the IB Discord and like, hey, will you guys read this? And like 3 people go check your paper and edit it for you. And it's just been really nice to be surrounded by so many people that like care about you and want you to succeed, and getting the same energy that you're putting out reciprocated back to you is just something that's always so like good to be around. And I think the teachers, some of them can be really, really nice and really, really like helpful. Like I said, Mr. Snelson, I love that man. He was so helpful and like genuinely learning and discovering in psychology. And like for someone that's passionate about it, I felt like it was a really good class for me to take because of how much I was able to learn under his guidance. And like Miss Fowler, she's been really helpful, like answering like any question that we'll have. We'll be talking about anything. I'll give like a barely related question and she'll be like, you know what? I don't know. Let's go figure that out. And I don't know. It's just really nice to have people that actually think like you and like want you to succeed. But the bad side is that the work does add up and it does get to you sometimes. Like, I don't want to say that IB like caused mental illness for me, but I won't say that it made it any better, because over the past year and a half or however long I've been in IB, it's been really rough on me, like having so much work and having to time manage when I haven't had to do that before, and like being thrown into it has not been easy to cope with. I'm not saying like, IB is what caused my mental illness, but it's definitely something to think about before you go in, is like, am I mentally able to do this? Am I mentally going to be able to take the work, the stress, the projects and the classes and everything, and clubs and work for some people that are having jobs in this time? It's like, it's definitely something to consider before and even during the program. And it's been rough. But I think I've learned a lot about myself and my ability to like get through stuff and my ability to work and get stuff done. And I don't know, it's been a quite the journey, and I think that the positives outweigh the negatives in some aspects. And I've been able to learn a lot, not only like education wise, but like about myself and about the people that I want to be surrounded by. And like, I've made my closest friends in this program. And IBSO has been great to be a part of, and I don't know, it's been good. So overall, IB is pretty good for me.
Or any of you guys can go.
Okay, I can go. Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything Emma said. The good side is 100% the community that we have. I personally really enjoy like intellectual discussions and just stuff of that nature. Like I said, I'm into politics and I like talking about that stuff. And the IB kids in our class are, for the most part, pretty politically aware and educated. and we're able to have some good conversations about stuff, even if we disagree. And I don't know, I think I like that a lot personally. And I don't come to the IB Kids personally much for support. I have another friend group that I go to for that and a therapist. But yeah, like Emma said, my mental health, IB has not helped. I never really took care of my mental health until I got into IB, and I was like, hey, maybe I should do something about this because it's bad. Um, and it's really hard to navigate my mental health while being in IB. Because I don't know if anybody has ever been like actually very depressed before. It's hard to get up. It's hard to get up. It's hard to do things, and I struggled a lot with that last semester. I literally failed a class for the semester. Um, and it's just that part is really hard, and I don't know if I am grateful for how IB has helped me fix my mental health. Because like Emma said, IB has helped me figure out more about myself and my work style, and just a lot of things about myself. Um, so yeah, yeah.
And then I guess like on my end, I 100% agree with like Emma and Allie. One difference for me, I guess, is the fact that mental health, I mean, it exists, but it's something that I haven't like put enough time as it deserves into my life simply because of the other priorities I have, like a job or like making sure I do work. It's just like the way my brain prioritizes things is different. And luckily it hasn't like what is it affected my work to where it's like at a really bad place to where okay I do need to address it. It's been like under the radar. It's still something I'm aware of, but luckily it hasn't like manifested into something that affects everything else in my life so far. But I can attest and say that I think the fact that I suck at time management and prioritizing my stuff within that list of stuff I have to do, that combined with the workload of IB and just the fact that there's so many to do things for every class, just managing that, I have been very bad at it. The work itself, I don't mind doing because if you have the right topic, the right support group, it goes out pretty well. So the skills I've learned with like actually managing it, it has gotten better because I've just kind of thrown myself. I won't say I was prepared for it, but I've learned as time goes. And the type of people that I've met through that and the way that I think and view the world is a lot better because of IB and the global perspective it has. And I just feel so much more aware about other people, especially since not to get into the Enneagram, but I'm a type 9 and I love being aware of all the other people I have in my life and not like peacemaking, but I definitely love seeing different perspectives on the same things. But yeah, one downfall I will say with IB2 is I guess kind of like not like the competitiveness for our class, but just kind of mentally in your own head, like setting a standard and kind of feeling disappointed with yourself whenever you don't meet it, or just getting like emotionally upset whenever you keep getting a problem wrong and you don't know why. And then you start correlating that with your own self worth. That is a struggle I've personally had, not because of IB, I've always had it even in like my prep classes or even at my old school. So that is a battle that is just like heightened and like extra highlighted because of the nature of IB, but I won't say IB caused it. It just enhanced it because of its workload. So that's one thing I'll say. But overall, the lessons that I've learned, the type of people, the mindset I have, and the support group that I have out of IB, it's so great. And I love it so, so much. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's really just like me managing my time better. That's honestly the only way that could help. But it's overall 10 out of 10. Well, not 10 out of 10. It has its own things. But for my circumstance, with my mentality and the resources and people I'm surrounded with, I would recommend IB. And for, I guess, like the next generation of people who are also at Stony Point IB. So, yeah.
And before I close this, I'm gonna say I'm not hating on IB or I'm not appraising it. I'm just, dissecting the topic as much as I can just to be open. I want to be as open as I can. I don't want to lie to somebody, be like, oh, yeah, it's great, or oh, no, it's bad. Because what I've been told was, oh, IB is like a waste of your time. You don't get to see nothing. You don't get to do nothing. I mean, I experienced it, and there is some downfalls, and there is some, like, a bunch of stuff that's good, you know, because to every good thing there's a bad thing, to every bad thing there's a good thing. And I'm not hating on it, or I'm not, you know, praising it or saying, oh, I love it just because, you know, I'm doing this and it's for a project. I'm just being as open as I can to it. And I wouldn't, you know, I would recommend everybody to just, like, you know, listen to this and have their own opinions about it, because not everybody is the same. Again, we're all different. We all go through different stuff. And if IB is not something like you want to do, then don't do it. It's something that you want to do, but you can do to like certain stuff in your life. You can try it, you know, see how it goes, or, you know, I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna force anybody to do anything. It's just, you know, your own free will. But I do, if you have that, you know, mind or like thought that should I join, or what, you know, what can I expect? Instead of the academic perspective, you know, I suggest you go listen to this at one episode. You know, I'm probably just monetizing myself just now. Go listen to it now. um, yeah, was just like a episode of how, you know, it has affected every single one of you differently, and how different perspectives and views you guys have gone to it. But that's, you know, that's all I got. This has been the Nameless Podcast still, but that's all. Thank you for Emma, Emmy, and Allison for being out here to record this, my first episode of this Nameless Podcast. We'll probably name it next month, maybe, or maybe to a third episode. I don't know. I'm still debating. I'm leaning to Dissection. If you guys have any like name preferences, you guys could just tell me, because I'm open to hear, you know, thoughts. Yeah. All right. Take care, guys.